that stash was worse than the foot. What's going on, everybody? Stephen A. I feel like I haven't seen you in weeks. Good to see you, my friend.
Welcome back.
What's up? How's the shoulder? Recovering?
I'm allowed to take off the brace while I'm doing the show.
Okay.
But the minute I get off the show to walk around, I have to have the brace.
You're not being extra with it. You're not lifting things.
I'm not
trying to
doing
get back in the gym. You're letting it go.
I need a body brace after today.
I almost, well, please, nothing for you, please. I almost wish I had a leg injury, for crying out loud. I mean, to not have both of my arms to be able to use, it's a pain in the neck. But it's all right.
Makes
I
you
brought it on
grateful.
myself. I brought it on myself.
Max Kellerman on vacation. Will Kane, everybody.
What's up?
Are we doing well?
We're doing well, thank you.
Yeah? Good to have you here.
Good job last week. I watched
you.
a couple times.
Thank
I watched
you.
a couple times.
It's a good little prep
very
for you
good, Very
today.
good job.
Yeah.
Very
All
good
right.
job.
All right, let's get started because we have a lot to discuss today. It's been quite a week for Antonio Brown, who continues to dominate sports headlines, as you just saw. Let's take a look at the last year with AB, shall we? A little walk down memory lane. Week 17, he is told he can't play after missing some practices and meetings. It wasn't injury-related. February, he requests a trade on Twitter. In March, he's traded to the Raiders. August 7th, he doesn't wear socks in the cryo machine and reportedly suffered extreme frostbite. The 9th, he tells Raiders officials he's not going to play unless he can wear his old helmet, as in not going to play the NFL season, everybody. Brown also warned the NFL he'd hold the league liable if he suffers a head injury while wearing the new mandated helmet. And it's important to note that the helmets have been certified by the National Operating Committee on Standards and Athletic Equipment, or players cannot practice or play in games without them.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot's happening there. Stephen A., should AB be allowed to wear his helmet?
The answer is very, very simple. Will Kane? Hell no. And it's not about you. I know this is a debate show, but y'all had an opportunity to speak about this last. I asked to speak on this subject to lead the show because I couldn't believe the kind of nonsense that I was seeing here last week while I was on vacation. Let me be very, very clear. The answer is hell no. A matter of fact, if I'm the National Football League, you know what I do to Antonio Brown? Go ahead and leave. Go ahead and retire. All that noise you made to get out of Pittsburgh, to collect $30 million, now you're going to forfeit it. You don't need football. It doesn't need you. Don't need football. Bye. See you when I see you. Goodbye. This is some nonsensical stuff. It really, really rakes my nerves. First of all, just to get the facts out of the way, I took the liberty of going online, Will Kane, and also calling both the Players Association and the league office. First of all, do you understand that there's about 30 different football helmet options that Antonio Brown has available to him? It's almost like 20 to 25,
that he could
30.
choose right
that
now,
he
the
could
new
choose,
mandated one.
that he could choose. There's an advancement. We've evolved. Of course, the National Football League has evolved. Technology has evolved. It's elevated. The helmet that he was wearing in college, the helmet that he's been wearing over the last few years, it's no longer mandated by the NFL. It's no longer acceptable. They gave you several options. Not only have they given him several options, spanning more than 20, potentially 30, but do you know they've had this notice to the NFL players inside NFL locker rooms for the last 5 years? I confirmed that this morning. For 5 years, they said, it's coming. Here's what we're going to do. Capitulate, because that's what you're going to do. What does Antonio Brown do? You pick now. You're the new team. You're the supposed leader. You made $30 million. They gave it to you. They gave up picks to acquire you, not a first rounder, but they gave up picks to acquire you. And this is the kind of nonsense that you find yourself in. I'm going to say something to people out there, and I want everybody to understand this. What Antonio Brown is doing is so egregious in this sense. It's so selfish. It's so petty. It's so childish. And here is the reason why, more than anything else. By doing this, you put the players in yet another precarious position. If I'm an owner, other than your talent, the number one thing I need from you is to know you're trustworthy. That you ain't going to act like an idiot. That you're not going to sit up there and veer away from what is professionalism. You're not going to violate your commitment. You're not going to do any of those things. And when you act up like this, they're sitting back saying, see why we have a problem giving these brothers some money? See, that this is the kind of stuff, because ultimately you're going to have these problems. It's not always justified, of course. Yeah. And we know what the owners do well. But the bottom line is, Antonio Brown looks like a damn fool with this whole scenario. You will not win. You will not get what you want. The NFL will not capitulate. They shouldn't. You knew 5 years in advance this was coming down the pike. The NFL owes you nothing. The players, I've spoken to several players who are very embarrassed by his position in all of this. He should be ashamed of his damn self the way he's acting.
No doubt. No doubt. However, should Antonio Brown be allowed to wear his old helmet? Stephen A., the answer is yes.
How?
Now, you're caught up in how he's going about his business. And I don't disagree with you. Antonio Brown's a headache. Antonio Brown is a head case. Antonio Brown is a problem that the Oakland Raiders should have seen coming from a mile away. But as far as Antonio Brown's head and its protection on the football field, I'm okay leaving that up to Antonio Brown. Here's what I mean. I understand what you're saying 100% about how he's handling his business, him holding out, missing all but one practice when it comes to training camp. And that, by the way, is only a continuation of the story we saw in Pittsburgh last year when he held out the last week of practice and missed a pivotal Week 17 in the NFL. Antonio Brown, no surprise, has been a problem. But ultimately, he wants to wear a 10-year-old helmet. You're right. It's no longer up to league standards. But I believe this is where we are in the league at this point.
Okay.
Everybody knows the issues. Everybody knows the risks you run with concussions. Everybody knows the risk you run with CTE. Awareness is out there. Nobody should be caught by surprise, and everybody is playing this game with full knowledge of what is involved with it.
Okay.
I am of the belief, and you and I have had this debate on a couple of different issues. For example, when it comes to whether or not players should be able to use marijuana. I am of the belief once you make people aware of the risks involved in their choices, then you cannot stop them from making choices that may not be the best for them. Make them aware and then allow them to make their choices. Antonio Brown wants to play with an old helmet. Give him a waiver. Give him an exemption, NFL. Allow him. The arbitrator is hearing this case today. Allow him, with full knowledge of the choices that he is making, allow him to make what is, in your estimation and my estimation, a bad choice.
Right.
It's how you got to work.
Well, first of all, I think you're flagrantly wrong in this matter. But before I go even further, we will have a discussion at some point in time about that shirt, that absence of a tie, that weak collar that you have on there, or whatever. I'm just saying. It could be a little bit more crisp.
Are you deflecting because that argument he just gave?
I think so.
I think so. Right now? Do you feel like he just got you?
Play a little game of three-card Monty at the table. Look over here.
First of all, I am never fazed by anything that Will, Max, or anybody else says on this show. I'm the man, number one. Number two, next time you want to insert yourself in the debate, give me a heads up. I'll be ready for that. Number three, let me get back to you, Will Kane. I'm going to tell you why you're flagrantly wrong on this one. Because of people like you. If they sat up there and granted that waiver, and then all of a sudden you had cats showing up on a National Football League field and they're getting themselves hurt, and all of a sudden they're more susceptible than ever to concussion protocol and things of that nature, you'd lose your mind. You say, who gives a damn about what these players want? You have advanced technology. This is what it says. These helmets are safer. You want to play in this league? It's our league, not yours. Capitulate. That's what you would be saying. So all of a sudden, now you're going to sit up here and tell me that, oh, okay, if you're willing to sign a waiver, you let the NFL off the hook if they capitulated to a whole bunch of people who suddenly decided to take that position, and all of a sudden they found themselves in more danger than less because of that capitulation? You know better than that. I know better than that. We would not let that slide. That would not give us a license to let the NFL off the hook for capitulating to those requests.
There's a difference between we and me. You're no doubt right that the media would do that. The general,
I think you would.
The general consensus would be, why are you allowing somebody to make a dangerous decision? But I wouldn't be that way.
I'm being clear. I'm accusing you, Will Kane.
You think I would sit up here and say, how dare you grant this exemption? How dare you grant this waiver?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I said I think that you would sit up there, and in the event that a player, they capitulated to that request, and a player went on the field and got himself hurt, and somebody could make a connection to him not utilizing what the NFL mandated, you'd call the NFL on the carpet for not enforcing their own rules. That wouldn't be Will Kane?
No, that would not be Will Kane, because I believe give people information and allow them to make their own decisions.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that.
We're not talking about a leather helmet here. We're talking about one that was used 10 years ago. And by the way, these new helmets, while they're better, and the league should be pushing for these new helmets, they don't solve the concussion issue. There's no safe way to play football. It's better, but it doesn't solve it.
I for the first time on this show with you, I am accusing you of lying to the American people. I'm accusing you. No, listen, Will's got his principles, and I respect it. But what I'm saying to you is there is no way, the Will Kane that I know, there is no way that the NFL has a rule, and Will Kane supports circumventing it, okay, at a player's request so long that they sign a waiver. That player then goes out on the field, gets himself hurt because the NFL capitulated to the rule, to compromising their own rule. And Will Kane says that's okay. No way. I don't believe it for 1 second.
I'll give you one example before we go.
I'll give you one example before we go. Go ahead.
The NFL should be letting Randy Gregory play in Dallas. The NFL shouldn't, although he has broken the rule, a rule that I think ultimately shouldn't be enforced, which
Talk
is
about
he's
the
been
weed.
using
Talk about the
marijuana.
weed.
That's right.
Talk about
That's
the
right.
weed. Go ahead. Go
It is
ahead.
a rule that I believe they should allow a guy like your Andrew Gregory, who is only hurting himself, and in this situation, Antonio Brown only hurting himself, play their game as long as they have full knowledge of the decisions they're making.
That's not the
I'm no
same.
hypocrite.
That's real
I'm
slick. Will
consistent.
King, that's real slick because you smoking weed is entirely different than wearing a helmet that is deemed not safe.
The
That's
same thing
entirely
is
different.
you-
Come on now.
You want
We're
to
out
take
of
your
time.
good decisions and force them on others.
Okay.
I want to allow people to make bad decisions.
I'm curious if AB's overblowing this and how much changing a helmet actually impedes his game. Kirk Morrison will be here later to answer
too.
that question. A lot more to come here on First Take with the NBA schedule being released today.